Hello everyone, welcome back to the tavern. Today we are going to be taking a look at this post that caught my attention on r/3d6. This player is, DM has encouraged us to come up with the strongest characters possible using all available published materials. For our third attempt at his campaign, we've been TPK'd the last 2 times by the time we hit level 7. Level 20 is the goal for the completion, so this is a 1 to 20 true build. Party comp is relevant, rolled stats, amazing stat line, 18, 15, 14, 13, 12, and 8. 95% combat game, mega dungeon, and this is going to be a slog. So, very interesting starting out. So, let's jump into it. So, I'm going to jump over to character builder, and I have actually 2 character concepts here, both of which would be a lot of fun to play, in my opinion, depending on the play style and what the person prefers to play. So one is going to be this heavy combat Nova damage. The other one is going to be super party support, keeping that party from dying by level 7. So let's jump into it. I'll do the exciting damage character first. Kill this. And we're going with a gxdslayer. gxdslayer. And we are playing a character up to level 20, so we need to keep in mind capstones might be important. Don't need playtest. Turn that on. All available published material. So I'll assume critical role is fine. We'll say customize origin, that and class features. Leave everything else on. There we go. Set that to private. Alright. Race right off the bat. This is going to be explained in a moment, but we are going to go with the Warforged here. Origin manager. Don't need that. Change the language. Alright, we need +2 to our charisma score and +1 to our constitution score. And then origin proficiencies, languages, dungeon. Off the top of my head, go-to dungeon languages will be Draconic and Infernal or Abyssal. So I'm gonna go with Celestial is also not a bad choice, depending on origin of the dungeon. I'm going to leave this open. This is really a individual thing. Specialized design trait. There we go. Specialized design skill on a tool. Skill, we'll come back to this tool. I think skill is going to be deception. Deception. There we go. And then tool. In dungeons especially, I highly recommend Mason's tools because you can make it that you argue you know stonework. You would notice if there's secret passages and stuff like that. So Mason's tools. Here we are. Alright, moving forward. Class, we are starting off on Paladin 1. And abilities, let's jump over here. Manual, 18 into that charisma. 14 into the dex, 15 into the con. We have 113 we must put in strength. That's cool. Well done, D&D Beyond. We have to put 13 in strength to be able to multi-class. So we're going to put 12 in intelligence and our 1-8 in wisdom. The reason we're putting the 8 in wisdom is proficiencies. Paladins get wisdom proficiency in their saving throw. So it's not going to hurt us as much as putting it in the intelligence save. Now, intelligence saves are rare, but we really do not want to be caught by an intelligence saving throw, especially in the early levels. So that at least mitigates the fact that we have a -1 somewhere. It changes it to a +1 with that proficiency bonus, at least first level. 2 paladin skills right off top. We're going to take persuasion, and we're going to take athletics. Athletics solves the fact that our strength isn't that high. We never have to worry about our strength score, our strength saving throw, or the only strength skill again. So that's going to help us out. Lay on hands. The reason I picked Paladin here because we are going to be building a multi-class. Paladin, it has the best survivability at level 1 between Lay on Hands, a D10 hit die, and great equipment. Speaking of equipment, off top we're going to get a half plate as our medium armor. Here we are. We're going to go with a longsword or another D8 one-handed weapon of your choosing. There we go. And we need a shield. Non-magic. There we go. We're not going to worry about mundane equipment beyond this. These are just things that we're going to have. Any of the weapons that could be wielded normally, one-handed, that deal D8 worth of damage, are worth taking a look at. The battle axe is worth looking at. The warhammer. This is really a role-playing choice. So like if you're playing a dwarf, maybe you go with the warhammer. Maybe your DM will be inspired to give you a dwarven thrower down the road. This is all individual agency choice, but you could safely use the longsword, the warhammer, or the battle axe basically interchangeably. And actually thinking about it now, let's throw on a warhammer. The reason we're throwing in the warhammer, and I don't think battle axe. The longsword is already slashing, so we don't really need slashing damage in the battle axe. But we do want to be able to have the bludgeoning damage option in the warhammer. So we could go like this and wield a battle axe or warhammer, which would be similar striking patterns, we would say. So similar styles of swinging the weapon, just aiming at different targets depending on what you're wielding. So we'll go with them. All right, class. So start off right off the bat. Optional class features. Yes. Harness Divine Power is going to be key for us. And martial versatility, amazing. All right, class features. Now we are playing for a survivability as well. All right, let's jump up to Paladin 2. This is going to be the second level that you take. We are right now we are not doing that well on our attacks. We really are not. So you might pick up a finesse weapon to start off with, like a short sword. But we're going actually let's eschew Paladin 2. Let's skip Paladin 2 for now. We're going to come back to Paladin for level 3. We're going to right away jump into Warlock. That way we can solve our attacking issue. Warlock 1, class features, Otherworldly Patron, Hexblade. And this is going to be a Hexadin Paladin, Hexadin character. So now our Longsword, Battle Axe, Warhammer, whichever one we choose for that day, is going to be attacking with our Charisma because of Hex Warrior. I believe, yeah. When we finish a long rest, we can touch one weapon we are proficient, lacks the two-handed property. Does not lack the versatile property, notably. You get your Charisma modifier instead of Strength or Dexterity. So we can pick a weapon for the day, and now we attack with that. Can't really swap mid-fight if we realize slashing damage isn't doing the most to them. I think off the top of my head, bludgeoning is one of the better choices, but it deals better with oozes, which are common low-level enemies, because you don't want to deal slashing damage to them. And bludgeoning doesn't have... some skeletons don't resist it, whereas piercing, some undead will resist piercing damage. So low-level enemies, bludgeoning is the go-to damage, in my opinion, and that would be the Warhammer. So let's assume we have the Warhammer. Equipment, inventory, drop that, there we go. Alright, class. Now we're going to go Paladin 2 as our third level. We get our spells from there, we get our smite. We forgot to pick class features, spells, add spells. So we get 2 cantrips out of the gate, and I recommend Eldritch Blast as a go-to ranged option to have all the time when we need to, and Booming Blade. Booming Blade is going to give us a scaling attack option, at least for the first set of levels. The other option here is Green Flame Blade, because Green Flame Blade hits 2 different enemies. So it's really a question of, does your DM like to throw mobs at the party, or do they like to use maneuverability? I think I'm so used to going Booming Blade, we'll throw Green Flame Blade on, because we're not really going to be using this past level 5. when we get our multi-attack anyway. So this is really to carry us to level 5 at that point. So we'll throw Green Flame Blade on, optional feature, additional versatility, and when we reach 4th level in this class, we could change one of the cantrips. We're not going to reach 4th level in Warlock. Alright, we'll close that. Spells, add spells, so we get 2 known spells. We're going to take Hex. Hex. We don't want Armor of Agathis because it's not actually that strong at lower levels. It's really strong when you can spend a 5th level spell slot on it and have 25 hit points that can deal 25 damage 2 or 3 times. It's not huge. We get shield added to our list, so we're going to pick up shield here. It's added to our list from being a hex blade, so we still have to spend a choice on it, so we will take that shield. Alright, and there's going to be amazing spells, and we can use our paladin slots to cast them as well, which is really nice. Fighting style. We're going to pick up dueling fighting style. Now that might not make sense, but our AC between Warforged +1, our dexterity of 14, so 2, our half plate with 15, letting us add the 2 from dexterity, 17, 1 from the Warforged is 18. So we're basically wearing a plate armor between our dex, half plate, and the Warforged. We are wearing plate armor without having to invest so much in our strength. And the +2 from shield, we're at 20 already, which is pretty solid off the bat. Dueling fighting style is going to give us a better damage output early rounds when we don't have as many spell slots to dump into smites. So dueling fighting style is going to do better for us in the short term, and that's what matters at these levels, because we're only level 3 right now. Spells, paladins all prep lists, so I would say make your own choices, but always prepare Protection, Evil, and Good, Bless, and probably Cure Wounds. Detect Magic is a very good dungeon spell. It's worth carrying around just for the fact of how useful it is. Shield of Faith is a solid concentration spell if you are getting hit a little bit too much in a particular fight. You don't have that many spell slots though, so like these choices are tough calls in my opinion. Divine Favor is a 1d4 extra radiant damage on a hit. You got to balance this with, is it better than a smite? So a smite of using the same level is going to be 2d8 radiant damage. Is Divine Favor, are you going to get 4 hits with Divine Favor? And that'll be comparable to smite at that point. And you've had to spend your concentration on it. So this isn't really good until you have a second attack per round, in my opinion. So I would prep, you get 1 more at this level. Searing Smite's not a bad one. Wrathful, I believe, Wisdom saving throw would be Frightened. That's pretty solid. Fear is a powerful ability. Detect Evil and Good's pretty solid. Detect Poison and Disease can be useful. Command, don't sleep on it. Command's a decent spell. Ceremony. This is really a personal choice at this point. I'll throw on. What's Thunderous Smite? Yeah, no, we'll throw in Searing Smite for now. Doesn't matter. All right, Paladin. We're gonna take Paladin all the way up to 3. We're only switching to 3 to get our Sacred Oath right away. And I think this build, especially playing to later levels, you're gonna want to pick Oath of the Ancients. I know the Channel Divinities aren't great. That's okay. The Oath spells, not the most powerful. We do get Misty Step on those Oath spells, which is pretty nice. So at class level 6, we'll have Misty Step if we want to. But the Oath of the Ancients aura is so much more powerful than all of the other auras. It's well worth it when you know that you're going to have the levels to get there. So that's going to push us up to Paladin 7. And we'll get our first ASI along here. This is the aura I spoke of. Aura of Warding. You and friendly creatures have resistance to damage from spells. That's amazing. And that also means traps that have spells. That were like spell traps and things like that, which is very, very powerful. Ability score improvement. We're going to take a look at our ability scores right now. Across the board, we're doing all right. We got a 20 in Charisma, 8 in Wisdom, 12 in Intelligence, 16 in Constitution, pretty solid, 14 in Dexterity, and a 13 in Strength. So we could take a feat here if we so choose, and The feat I think might be a good pick here would be tough. Really stack our hit points up. Other good options would be something like Sentinel. Savage Attacker could be a strong choice. Although you only get to reroll the 1d8, you don't really get the most benefit out of it. You could take the Fighting Initiate feat. I would recommend not, because of something that I think is going to be good for this down the road. If you're fighting a lot of mages, Mage Slayer is not bad. You've already played a Lucky Divination Wizard, so you might not want to go with Lucky because you've already used it on one of your other builds. I think Tough or Warcaster is probably the pick here, depending if you're using Shield of Faith a lot. I think I would pick Tough here. You're just piling on your survivability at that point. Another strong choice, I believe, would be Shield Master. Yeah. When you take the attack action on a turn, you can use your bonus action to shove with your shield, which is awesome. You don't really do anything with your bonuses right now. If you are incapacitated, you can add your shield's AC. If you aren't incapacitated, AC to Dexterity saving throw against spell or other harmful effects. So now you have an extra bonus to those. Effect that makes Dexterity saving throw to only take half damage, you can use your reaction and take no damage. So, and that's an effect, not a spell effect. So that is going to boost your survivability to traps like acid and fire traps much higher, because you're burning your reaction on a trap. If you're not in actual combat, burning that reaction costs you nothing. So this is probably actually the pickup, I think. Shield Master is very, very strong if you are a shield user. Let's push Paladin up to 11. And this is going to give us improved Divine Smite. We have the Aura of Protection, that's fine. Aura of Courage. Creatures within 10 feet can't be frightened. Very cool. Improved Divine Smite. All of your melee weapon attacks carry Divine Power with them. Whenever you hit a creature with a melee weapon, extra 1d8 Radiant. This is where we were pushing to in Paladin. This is where we're stopping in Paladin. We might take the 12th level for the ASI, but that might be it. Ability score improvement. We're going to be looking at a feat, because we have the 20 strength. You either go Tough here, Warcaster, or you increase your Constitution, in my opinion. You could also take Fey Adept, I think, Fey Touched. The issue is that we've already maxed our Charisma. Our Charisma is solid. We really don't need it anymore, and we really don't want to spend that point on Intelligence or Wisdom. So we're not getting that much out of it. We're getting a free Misty Step once a day and one spell. That's not a spell slot that we can't smite with. We can do better, I think. So I'm going to throw Tough in here. Here we go. For that survivability boost. It's going to do better for us than the boost to our Constitution score. That's going to increase our save by 1. And our hit points by 1 per level. This increases our hit points by 2 per level. So I think that'll adjust in a moment. Yeah, 135 at 12th level. That's a good 12th level. It's 24 more hit points, which is really good. All right. After that, we're dipping out of Paladin, and we're going into Fighter. And we're going to take Fighter all the way to 6, I believe. But we're going to jump to 3. To start with. Make sure to tick all of them. Make sure to tick them. Alright, class features. Fighting style. This is when we're picking up defense fighting. What's superior technique? We might pick up that. No, that's maneuvers, right? Yeah, we're picking up defense fighting style. Free bonus to our AC in the later games, later levels. We're picking this up. We'd be level 15 when we get to Fighter 3, which, we'd be level 13 at Fighter 3. Fighter 1, I should say, because that's when we get the fighting style. But it's going to boost our AC from 20 to 21, which is going to be decent if we haven't found any magical armor by this point. So it's going to help us with that survivability. It's still a D10 hit dice, so we're still getting a lot of hit points. And just adding 3 levels of Fighter added 33 hit points overall to us, which is amazing. The other reason that we're dipping into Fighter, our Warlock spell slot is a short rest recovery, so we want more short rest things, especially in a dungeon where there's only so much that we can do with those short rests. There's going to be so many fights in a day. We want to be able to recover our resources as often as possible. So we are on a resource push at this point. Then we're going to go to, we get Action Surge and Second Wind, something else to do with our bonus, a little bit more survivability. And our martial archetype, because we already have so many things going on, we're going to go with the champion. So now we crit on 19s and 20s. So the rest of the fighter class is all survivability, defense fighting style, second wind, and then improved crit is just going to be straight offense. So 15th level, we start critting on 19s, which is going to do so much good stuff for us. After that, now you may be wondering, our paladin is suffering a little bit because we don't have as many spell slots to smite with, which I agree, we don't. So we could either go paladin 12 and class level 16 and push our paladin. Let me pull up the paladin real quick. The difference between 11 and 12 is just the ASI, if I recall correctly. Yes, there's no change in spell slots known, which is why it's not as strong. If we gained another spell slot from paladin at 12th level, it would be worth it. But 11 and 12 doesn't actually matter for that. So I think at this point we dip out of fighter. We could go fighter 4 if we want an ASI. I don't think we need it at this point. We're gonna dip another class and we go to bard here. We already have persuasion, deception. Throw these on. Magical inspiration. Bardic versatility. There we go. Proficiencies. We get a musical instrument. Say viola. I don't know. We're gonna pick up a check. We'll go with, say, stealth. Pick up a stealth proficiency. Very strong skill. Bardic inspiration we get. Bard we're going to take up to level 3. This is going to give us our Bard College and our expertise. So we're going to pick up expertise on stealth and persuasion. Oh, we didn't get our background. I knew we missed something. Custom, configure, 2 skills, 2 languages probably, save. And this would be, off the top of my head, default stuff. We would have picked up stealth already, so let me remove that from the bard. Proficiency, stealth. I'm just throwing acrobatics for now. Description. So we would pick up stealth early, so that way we don't have to worry about it, and medicine early, because this would have been the level 1 choice. Languages, we'll pick up celestial and infernal. Alright, now bard. Proficiencies, and at this point we probably pick up perception. Sleight of hand's not probably that useful. I think perception is the choice here then. Changes it from the -1 that we have to actually decent. I think it would be a +4 by this point. Bard College, this is really up to personal choice. We could get to Bard 5, so Lore Bard's not going to get magical secrets, so I would go College of Whispers here. Expertise, we're going to pick up Stealth and probably Athletics. Depending how often you are finding that you have to roll Athletics, this is really DM dependent, or maybe Persuasion here. You could pick up Expertise in Medicine to not have to worry about making healing checks and stuff like that, but you're a bard, so you probably don't need it anyway. If you're not doing a lot of party facing, like he said, 95% combat, I think Athletics is the pick here. If there is interaction a little bit, that 5% matters a lot, I'd probably pick up Persuasion or Deception. I think you definitely pick up Stealth though. Having expertise in Stealth at this point, if you haven't found Mithril Armor or like a Cloak of Elvenkind or something to balance out the fact that you have disadvantage on stealth checks from the half plate, this solves that problem for you. Disadvantage with a +2 and expertise is still very, very strong, because at this point we would be level 18, so we had 6, 12, 14. So +14 at disadvantage is still pretty good. It's effectively mathematically a +9 to a single roll. The reason that we went College of Whispers, we already have our extra attack, and we're not getting any of that from Bard. We got Psychic Blades. This is going to be basically like our capstone, so to speak. And we will get to Bard 5, which will give us Psychic Blades on short rests. So we're keeping that short rest mechanic. We picked up Tough earlier, so a D8 hit dice for 5 levels isn't going to kill us. We're already almost at 200 hit points, which is very, very strong. Words of Terror. You get some Paranoia in there. It doesn't even spend one of your things. So this is awesome. Psychic Blades is going to be 3d6 at 5th level when we spend a inspiration dice to hit them with an attack, which is fantastic. And it's psychic damage, very rarely resisted. So we're going to push up to Bard 5. That will get us to level 20, 218 hit points. Overall total of 68 plus 14 d10. We have 5 levels of Bard contributing basically 10 Paladin caster levels to our overall Paladin, and the Paladin is contributing 11 levels. So basically we have 21 levels of Paladin caster levels, which is awesome. The big thing, we get an ASI out of here as well. The other reason that we actually end up pushing something the rest of the way. And we could buff up our Constitution here. We could play around with the feat. This is a 19th level ability score improvement at this point, so it's really up in the air as to what you might want to pick. I think off the top of my head, we don't really need Medium Armor Master because we didn't push our Dexterity the rest of the way up. And we don't really worry about the stealth disadvantage at this point. Magic Initiate might not be terrible if we want more spell casting. Maybe Meta Magic Adept. We'll go with that. We get 2 things. Maybe that's the pick there. We get to pick a quicken spell to quicken a hold person out off of being a bard. Might be interesting. Yeah, we'll throw that on there. Quicken spell. 2 sorcery points. So it basically costs both of our sorcery points to try it once. But and then we'll say subtle spell. And we pick subtle spell if we're bound and gagged or something. We can maybe cast Misty Step and get out of it subtly, because we do have Misty Step. Other good options, Skill Experts, not bad. Slasher, if we're using a slashing weapon at this point. All of these feats are really interesting. We don't get the benefit of the increase. Well, we would technically, but it doesn't apply to our attack anyway. We're using Charisma. Grievously Wounded, target disadvantage. So there's different things that you can do with these feats, which are really interesting. I'm going to pick up Warcaster here and be done with it. So that way we can cast our Bard spells while holding sword and shield in both hands. So it's going to solve a problem if the DM is being tough on that. We also have advantage to maintain concentration at that point. On spells. And the other thing is our Font of Inspiration. We get back our Bardic Inspiration uses, all 5 of them, because our Charisma is 20, on short rests instead of long rests. So now it matches our Fighter, Action Surge, and Second Wind Recovery, and our Warlock Spell Slot Recovery. So we are in fantastic shape for this Bard. And that is going to put us all the way to level 20. And refresh this page real quick. 218 hit points overall, 6 d8 hit dice, and 14 d10s. Pretty good. We have Second Wind, Action Surge, Psychic Blades, Smites out the wazoo. And when we get rid of this Unarmed Strike, I don't want this here ever. We have the Warhammer that we're using. And when we take a look at our spells, we have 1 packed slot that we're going to be recovering. That's always going to be a first smiting slot at first level, 4 first levels, 3 second levels, 3 third levels, and 3 fourth levels, and 2 fifth level spell slots, which I'm sure when we went up to Paladin 11, you weren't thinking that we're going to have that many spell slots for smiting, but yes, we do. The only thing left to pick is your Bard spells. This is really going to be a personal choice at this point. I think one of the definite picks, and probably the only pick that you should waste on a healing pick, is Healing Word, because it's a bonus action thing that we can do. Oh, we need first level. Healing Word. To keep our party from dying. Fairy Fire is worth learning at every level. It is that powerful. We already have Cure Wounds from Paladins, so don't waste a pick on it. Identify might not be bad. Long Strider is a free spell. 10 feet, lasts for an hour, pretty nice. Feather Falls, a nice niche spell to always have. We get 4 out of 8, so we'd have 4, 2, and 2. Because at most we could have 2 third level spells. Third level strong spells, no matter what tier of the game. Hypnotic Pattern is very, very powerful. Tiny Hut, but you're so high up it just shouldn't matter. Tongues, we'll throw Mass Healing Word on there. Mass Healing Word feels appropriate. Dispel Magic's not terrible, so you might pick Dispel Magic there also. Second level, Aid is a very powerful spell, so we'll throw Aid in there. It lasts for 8 hours as well. And Hold Person. We can't pass up a Hold Person there, because we would have been Bard 3. Actually, we could have dropped one of these first level spells for a second level spell. Drop Featherfall. It's the sorcerer's job to do that. And get Invisibility. Or we'll go through a Mirror Image. That's a much better combat spell. Invisibility is not as great in combat. Mirror Image is powerful in combat, especially when the main copy has 21 AC, with no magical items. So that is an amazing set of spells for us. Let us jump back to removing scaled spells. Class Paladin spells. Adjust this a little bit. Prepared spells. Alright, here we go. We're going to drop Searing Smite. Drop Detect Magic. That's the wizard's job. We'll leave Cure Wounds up. We get another 6 spells. So second level, we don't want Aid. We want Fine Steed. We want Misty Steps Always Prepared. Prayer of Healing is worth preparing. And Warding Bond isn't terrible if you need to protect your mount. Let's jump to third level. Aura Vitality gives us something to do with our bonus actions. Once again, we need something to do with those actions. Dispel Magic, that's why we didn't pick it from there. And Revivify. Spirit Shroud is also very, very strong. So I think that's a good final pick, especially because we do have 5th level spell slots. Spending a 5th level spell on Spirit Shroud, sure, we have to concentrate on it, but that's an extra 3d8. 1 for 3rd, 1 for 4th, and 1 for 5th. An extra 3d8 radiant damage on all of our hits, and it's a bonus action to cast. So we're rushing into combat, popping that Spirit Shroud, and swinging. We have a bonus 3d8 from the Spirit Shroud, 1d8 from Improved Divine Smite. We crit on 19s and 20s. We have 2 attacks. We have a 1d8 plus 2. So we have, basically our attack is 3 for the Spirit, 1 for Improved, 1 for Weapon. So we're at 5d8 plus 2 plus 5 for Charisma to hit, on base damage at that point, before smiting or using Psychic Blades. You are a monster of dealing damage with this build. Let's jump over into our thing. Here we go. Overall spells, actual spells, we have Eldritch Blast, Green Flame Blade. Oh, we never picked our Bard spell. Bard cantrips can be niche choices, whatever feels appropriate. You're not using any of them for damage. You shouldn't ever be using any of them for damage. You have Eldritch Blast for that if you need to, of which you get 4 blasts, which is really nice. They're only 1d10s, and they don't have Agonizing Blast, but that's okay. Green Flame Blade were never changed out. That's okay. It's not a big loss. It was there to carry us to level 5. Well, level 6 Paladin. Class 6 Paladin 5. Situational bonus. Oh, that's cool. Alright. So we have an amazing setup here. We have Bless, Cure Wounds, Ensnaring Strike, Fairy Fire, Healing Word, Hex, Long Strider, Protection, Evil and Good, Shield, Shield of Faith, and Speak with Animals. Like that, Hex gets outclassed when we get Spirit Shroud, but Spirit Shroud costs a higher level slot. And Hex, if we spend a 3rd level slot on Hex, we get to last it for 8 hours through it. So it's a different strokes, but a bonus d6 versus a d8, sometimes maybe that's better. But this is against a single enemy, where Spirit Shroud works against everyone. Second level, we get Aid, Fine Steed. Fine Steed choices, you go with Warhorse or Stag or Giant Stag. Talk to your DM about using something like a Warg which is the same CR, but it has the wolf ability where they have to make a strength saving throw to fall prone. Really, that the steed is a mobility thing for you at this point. It's not really anything else. It's to help you get in and out of combat better. It's the same reason that we picked Longstrider as one of our bard spells. We get Mirror Image, Misty Step, Hold Person, Mirror Image, Misty Step, Moonbeam, Prayer of Healing. Probably won't cast Moonbeam that much, the damage isn't worth it, but Mirror Image, Misty Step, and Hold Person are very strong. Very, very strong second level spells. Aid, if we is an action 30-foot range though, so it helps some allies. Boost that those hit points up by quite a bit. Spend a 5th level spell slot on Aid, and it would be an additional 20 hit points for 3 characters, which is very, very strong. That's 60 more hit points of things that your enemies have to deal with. 3rd level Aura Vitality, Dispel Magic, Hypnotic Pattern, very strong to start off a fight. DC 19 Wisdom saves, tough to save against. Mass Healing Word, bonus action. Once again, we want things to be able to do with our bonus action, since our attack action is going to be taking our main action most of the time. Plant Growth, Protection Energy, solid pickup. Revivify, just in a niche case, and our best spell by far is Spirit Shroud. That massive amount of damage, cold, necrotic, or radiant damage. We have advantage on Constitution saves to maintain it, and we have a minimum of +8 to that, which is fantastic. We have 3 4th level spell slots and 2 5th level spell slots. So we have smites out the wazoo, and we basically have an extra 1st level that we get to recover on short rests. We also have our Psychic Blades for 3d6. Oh, that's Divine Sense. Sorry, 55 points of lay on hands. Here we Harness Divine Power. We get to use it twice per long rest. So this is what we'll burn our Channel Divinity on. Bonus action, touch your holy symbol, utter a prayer, and regain 1 expended spell slot, which can be no higher than 3. Regain all uses when you finish a long rest. So twice a day, and paladins can only use it once per short rest, their Channel Divinity. So once per short rest, up to twice a day, we can Channel Divinity and regain our 3rd level spell slot. So if we drop a 3rd level Spirit Shroud going into a fight, we can know midway into that fight even, we could pop our next bonus action and recover that 3rd level spell slot immediately. So that way, basically, we've spent no spell slots, but we have our 3rd level spell going at that point, which is really nice. Sacred Oath, that Channel Divinity, that's not worth it. Oath spells, we have so many features to play around with. Expanded, doesn't matter. Constructed Resilience, yeah, where's the class features? Here we go, Bard. Bardic Inspiration, Magical Inspiration, and Psychic Blades. 3d6. So our smite, we could dump a 4th level smite for 5d6 Radiant or 6d6 Radiant against an undead with a 5th level Spirit Shroud behind it. We're dealing 5d8 from our attack and improved Divine Smite. Another 6d8, so we're dealing 11d8 with that attack against an undead. And if we crit, we drop a Psychic Blades into it. And I think you save the Psychic Blades for crits because you only have 5 of them. And you can't inspire yourself. So you save that Psychic Blades for hit a crit. You get another 3d6 on top of that. And then double all the dice. So we got 66 and 22 d8s. That's a lot of damage from a single attack, a use of Psychic Blades, a bonus action casting of a spell, and a 4th level spell slot. Sure, we spent a 5th and 4th, but that 5th is going to keep going for us. That 22d8 average of 4.5 per dice. Oof, I shudder to think what that is going to be happening to that individual. Decent saves across the board. Charisma save, we're never being dominated. Our wisdom save, even though we dumped our wisdom to 8, the Bard, Jack of all trades, basically fixed all of our skills for us, just in case we needed it. We have decent proficiencies across the board. We have very good options as far as what we can do on any turn, especially for a combat game. All right, let's jump to our other build, and our other build is actually a little bit more straightforward as well, much less convoluted as far as the multi-class went. Characters, make new character, standard, and let's jump to Critical Role content, move scaled spells, set it to private, And yeah, perfect. This is going to be class. So this is really up in the air at this point. I'm inclined to pick human at level 1 because we get that feat right off the bat, but I don't think you need to. This is going to be cleric, this is going to be party support, and there's going to be 2 different schools of thought here. So let's just throw the cleric on right away. But let's take a look at the cleric before we go with the domain. So the 2 things in contention here that you could go with is either life domain for the improved healing, or the peace domain for the ability to give this massive like bless to proficiency number of creatures, proficiency times per long rest. I think we're going to go with the life domain. It's tried and true. The peace domain is very, very strong though. So we're going to go with life domain. Nope, not light. Life. Disciple of life. Awesome. Equal bonus. And the life domain, let's jump. Oop, we need this stuff. Here we go. All right, class. Proficiencies, we're going to go with medicine out of the gate. And we'll go with history. Maybe that'll matter. Or religion could also matter for like stone reliefs in a dungeon. So we're going to push cleric. Let's push it up to 4 right away. So at this point, we would pick up the ability score improvement and use the feat to take a magic initiate druid and pick up Goodberry as a spell. The reason to go in that direction, if we take a look at the spells, Goodberry, spells. Goodberry. I believe it's conjuration spell. It's a transmutation spell. So here we are. I don't believe we can take transmutation with Fey Touched, unfortunately. Yeah, divination or enchantment, and shadow touched, much less strong. Wisdom is illusion or necromancy. So we can't take either of them to get Goodberry, unfortunately. So we have to take magic initiate. Magic initiate. There we go. Druid. First level spell, we pick up Goodberry. We don't really need multiple castings of it per day, so that's fine. We'll pick up, of our choice at this point, any 2 cantrips from the list. Druidcraft is more of a roleplay thing. There's strong options here across the board. You could pick up Primal Savagery as a melee cantrip. So that gives you a pretty good melee cantrip if you get stuck in combat. And we'll go with, say, Create Bonfire as a concentration cantrip if you want to. It also creates an area of effect on the battlefield that continues to exist even if you're not doing other stuff with it. And that's actually why we picked that up there. Because it's something that we can set and ignore, and if the enemies don't move away, they're going to keep taking damage from it without us having to spend our action. So it's going to help us with our action economy. And it's a wisdom ability. Race. So this is really up in the air at this point. Race is really whatever we want. I'm actually going to go with Hill Dwarf here. The reason we're going to go with the Hill Dwarf is the +1 from Dwarven Toughness for our hit points across the board. Once again, go with Mason's Tools. Same reason. We're in a dungeon. We want Mason's Tools. We want to move this. Dwarven Combat Training. We don't need weapons. Origin Proficiencies. We don't care. And Ability Score. There we go. Race. Alright. We need a +2 to our Wisdom. And +1 to our Constitution. Fantastic. Origin Proficiencies. Simple weapon or tools. So at this point, you just throw a bunch of tool proficiencies in there, in my opinion, because you're not going to be using weapons. You have Primal Savagery as a melee cantrip, and you have all of your cleric cantrips as well. You are dedicating to spellcaster. Class, conveniently, we get bonus proficiency. We get heavy armor, so we don't have to worry about our dexterity at all. So we're going to go manual, and we have 18 that we're going to drop in our wisdom. And then I believe we also have a 15 that's going to go into our Constitution. We have a 14 that's going to go into our Strength. Actually, let's reverse that because we need 15 Strength to carry plate armor. So we're going to go 14 into Con. Yeah, 14 into Con makes more sense. And then we need 13, 12, and 8. So we have a 13 in there, a 12, and we'll dump Charisma. Since the other build is a Charisma heavy, this one will be fun to dump Charisma on, especially if we don't have that much party facing to do in a dungeon. The other, if we take a look at the proficiencies, we also have Charisma proficiency and saving throws, so it doesn't feel too bad dumping that, whereas dumping Intelligence would probably hurt us. So pick any 4 tools. At that point, we don't need weapons. Class. So Cleric, I'm gonna cancel. I'm gonna go Cleric up to 8, and we're gonna throw in the Harness Divine Power. That's the recover spell slot, same thing as the Paladin. Additional spells, Blessed Strikes. This lets us replace the baseline feature of Divine Strike that the Life Cleric gets, the bonus D8 on melee, with a bonus 1d8 on cantrips as well. So Blessed Strikes, whenever a creature takes damage from one of your cantrips or weapon attacks, get a bonus 1d8 radiant damage. Can't use the feature until the next turn. Fantastic. That is what we want. Ability score improvement at this, we're going to be taking Warcaster, or actually no, we'll be taking Resilient Constitution. This is going to fix our Constitution score up to a 16. We refresh the page. There we go. Our Constitution is now 16, and we have proficiency in Constitution saving throws now. We have advantage against our poison saves and things like that, which is fantastic. I don't need dice groups. So that's really going to help us out a lot. And decent hit points across the board as well. All right, pushing up to 12. Let's take a look at our cantrips for now. 0 level. Definitely want guidance. Definitely need light. Definitely want Sacred Flame. And we get 5, I believe. Yeah. Word of Radiance is a good crowd control one because it affects all creatures of your choice within range of you, albeit the damage isn't great. And Resistance is a solid choice. Exploring a dungeon. Just cast it on yourself when the thief's about to use their tools for something, or when they're checking for traps. Just always cast it on yourself. It's better than guidance for situations like that. So let's jump back to the class. You are a preparation spellcaster, so you don't have to worry about picking spells at any choice. Ability score improvement, 12th level. We're going to go with ability score improvement, and we're going to push our Constitution higher. That's going to be fantastic for us in the long run. Then 16th level, our next ability score improvement, we're going to take Tough down the road, and that's going to increase our hit points in the long run. Where's Tough? There we go. We don't really need Warcaster because we don't have to have anything on our hands to cast any of our spells and everything. So it's going to be nice and solid for that. Finally, we're going to cap out Cleric at 20, pick up our last ability score improvement. This is really personal choice at that point, but we're also going to get our guaranteed Divine Intervention once per 7 days, and that's going to be a very powerful capstone feature. So those are the 2 classes overall. 100 and for the Cleric, 243 hit points at the end of the game. Much actually better than the Paladin because we have Tough and a higher Constitution. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my content to anyone you think might enjoy it. Look forward to seeing you guys in the comments. See you next time.